on Guam.
KUAM News, winner of the 2022 Regional Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the Culture Club.
KUAM News headlines are presented by Calvo's Insurance, a legacy of trust. Serving Micronesia since 1938, Matson celebrating 25 years of commitment to Guam, Micronesia, and the CNMI. Cars Plus, Guam's leader in sustainability and electric vehicles. Learn more at carsplusguam.com. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it, and King's Restaurant, serving your local breakfast, lunch, and dinner favorites for over 45 years.
Ahead on KUAM News Primetime, a man convicted in Superior Court for raping a 9-year-old girl learns his fate, but he will get to stay out of jail until after he fights the case before the High Court. Plus, Guam and the CNMI's delegates will have to wait to officially be sworn into office. This as the U.S. House of Representatives goes through a similar battle unfolding locally. Who will be the Speaker? And stepping down from the job, Acting Superintendent Francis Santos resigns ahead of his replacement, officially accepting the offer to lead GovGuam's largest agency.
Hafide and good evening. I'm Nick Delgado. Welcome to Primetime. Well, he was in a position of trust. A man who is convicted of raping a little girl he lived with gets 18 years in prison. Defendant Gilberto Custerbeck was allowed to walk free for now, as he contends he did nothing wrong. He will now appeal his case before the High Court.
18 years for rape. 47-year-old Gilberto Custerbeck kept his head down as he learned how long he will have to spend in the Department of Corrections prison for his crime.
And the victim, who was only around 9 years old when these events occurred, continues to struggle to move forward and recover.
Custerbeck shaking his head at times, even as Superior Court Judge Dana Gutierrez told him he would have to register as a level 1 sex offender. Custerbeck, along with his wife Mona Lisa, were arrested in 2020 after the child told Guam police the abuse happened at least 3 times for an entire year in 2018 into 2019. A jury last August found him guilty of first and second-degree criminal sexual conduct, despite several others offering testimony to the court speaking to Custerbeck's overall, quote, good character. Judge Gutierrez spoke on the lasting scars the girl he abused still faces.
She explains that the impact defendant Custerbeck's actions have had on her life, and she also describes how his actions have ruined one of the most valued relationships she has, the relationship she has with her mother. She states that this relationship is broken. Now a young lady, she states that she struggles with flashbacks, and that she faces the trauma and thoughts throughout her daily life, and that she can't even look at her body the same. She also states that it's hard for her to trust people easily, and that most of the time she watches her over her shoulder in fear that the same things can happen to her again.
The court noting Custerbeck will appeal his conviction, fighting his case before the justices in the Supreme Court of Guam.
He further stated that he does not know why the victim made these allegations against him.
Judge Gutierrez also sending a message to the community
that this type of conduct will not be tolerated by this court or by our community.
Custerbeck remains freed pending the outcome of his appeal, the court allowing it only after prosecutors confirmed the child did not object to the request.
An armed robber who targeted a Dead Row store more than 2 months back is captured. 30-year-old KM Refik is charged with second-degree robbery, along with a special allegation for possessing and using a deadly weapon. Court documents state Refik went into Kayla's Mart on October 29th armed with a pistol. He put the firearm on the counter, allegedly threatening to shoot the cashier, and demanded money. He took off with $70 as a second unnamed suspect held the door open for him. Authorities were able to ID him through surveillance video. It was on Tuesday, though, that Refik allegedly admitted to the robbery, adding that they would split up the money. But he later took back his story, allegedly telling officers he was drunk. Drugs, cash, designer bags, ATVs, and motorcycles, that's the items included in a federal drug case unsealed in the District Court of Guam today. The case filed back in August. 43-year-old Joseph Michael Quintanilla is charged with distribution of more than 50 grams of methamphetamine. Court documents show that he pleaded guilty back in October. Sentencing set for April 6. Court documents state Quintanilla sold more than 55 grams of the drug ice in Dededo last January. The plea agreement states the feds also found 33 grams of the drug after searching his home. Additionally, Quintanilla agreed to forfeit all drug-related assets, including more than $9,000 in cash, a handful of Louis Vuitton and Gucci bags, 3 motorcycles, and 2 ATVs. He spent more than half a decade fighting to get his job back at the Guam Police Department, but Mark Charfris's termination stands. Justices from the Supreme Court of Guam ruling that his firing did not violate his First Amendment rights. The court's order stating though Charfris spoke to the media on a public concern and in his private capacity, his interest in speaking did not outweigh GPD's interest when they decided to let him go. As reported in 2016, Charfris was caught on police body cam footage berating junior officers who were responding to a call of illegal fireworks in Hagat. The former GPD colonel was only able to get his demotion overturned. The Guam legislature isn't the only body that's not able to elect a speaker. The U.S. House of Representatives adjourned for now, with a new majority Republicans failing to pick a leader just yet. That also means Guam delegate James Moylan still waiting to be sworn in as the first GOP rep for Guam in 30 years. Nestor Lecanto reports.
What an honor to do this, dude. Thank you.
No speaker, no adoption of standing rules, which means no swearing in of new members. That was the update from Delegate-elect Moylan's office after 3 rounds of voting failed to produce a speaker in the 118th Congress. Moylan was on the floor for the multiple rounds of voting, but as a non-voting delegate was not able to officially cast his vote for the leading candidate, Kevin McCarthy. Moylan has indicated in previous interviews that he would support McCarthy, and KUAM has also learned that for the first time, Republicans have allowed territorial representatives to vote in committee of the whole. This comes as McCarthy has faced strong resistance from far-right members of his conference. In the meantime, Moylan says he's been in discussion with several colleagues to revive a bill from the previous term that would authorize supplemental security income for residents of the territories. He also kept with tradition and swore in the officers of the Guam Society of America, one of the largest Guamanian associations in the mainland that's been around for more than 70 years. The event took place at Moylan's new congressional office at the Longworth House building, right by former Democrat delegate Michael St. Nicholas's old office. For KUAM News, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
Thanks, Ness. Well, Northern Marianas delegate Gregorio Sablan, a Democrat, was on the House floor today, sharing his comments on the historic battle for Speaker as he enters his 8th term in office. Sablan telling KUAM he voted for new Democrat leader, Representative Hakeem Jeffries, in caucus to be the next House Speaker. Members of Congress will not be sworn in until there is an elected Speaker.
Right, Tomas, but of course I was on the floor. I wasn't going to step off the floor. This is historical, so. And I was just taking in everything, and yeah, you're right. First time in 100 years. But so I spoke to Speaker Pelosi, and I actually told her, I said, you left the job 2 hours, and look at this. This is where we're at. So, but it's not her fault.
Sablan says he's been in the minority for at least half of his 8 terms and will continue to push through partisan lines to represent the CNMI, particularly when it comes to the island's labor issues. An abrupt start to the new year following a shakeup in leadership at the Guam Department of Education. Daniel Perez has the latest after Acting Superintendent Francis Santos quit.
5 months and he's out. Acting Guam Department of Education Superintendent and former Senator Francis Santos suddenly stepping down ahead of students returning from the holiday break. Guam Education Board Chair Dr. Mary Okada says his final day was last Friday. The sudden resignation forcing board members into an emergency meeting to vote on his temporary replacement. And after a vote, GDOE's Deputy of Finance and Administration, Franklin Cooper Nurse, was tapped as acting superintendent for a 30-day period. But Education Board member Peter Atta was in shock, asking the board why Santos upped and left.
I thought he agreed to kind of stay for the transition. What happened? Where did things fall between the time that he was at one time asked? In fact, the individual that was sitting on the seat, which was Robert Crisostomo, had mentioned that, and I thought it was agreed upon. That was my understanding. I could be wrong.
Dr. Okada responding, quote, I don't know. Vice Chair Maria Gutierrez nominated Cooper Nurse noting he knows about the transition phase for GDOE to be free from the third-party fiduciary.
We're in the transition period of the high risk. We have issues with, and he has been there for, all the discussion, and we need to continue, for him to continue because he knows what's going on.
Cooper Nurse will lead the agency until Superintendent-elect Dr. Kenneth Swanson formally accepts the position and arrives on Guam. Dr. Okada confirmed that she has been in contact with Swanson about his contract and is waiting on his reply on the matter.
Once that's all taken care of, then I'm sure we'll hear something back from him.
We should also note Swanson is a longtime educator who previously worked in Guam for the Department of Defense Education Activity. He currently resides in Georgia and is expected to move back to Guam soon. Daniel Perez, KUAM News.
Well, Daniel also reports it's time to dust off those shoes and book bags after a long holiday break. Guam Department of Education school classes start back up tomorrow. If you've got a student in FB Leon Guerrero and Ukudu High, here's an important reminder as they will head into double session. The high schoolers will be at the Dedero campus in the morning, the middle schoolers in the afternoon. But only FBLG's 6th grade students will return tomorrow, followed by the 7th graders on Friday, and then the 8th graders Monday, January 9th. Any issues or questions on the double session classes, you can give your student's school a call. We will have more news in a moment. Keep it here. You're watching KUAM.
Get up-to-the-minute news, plus access to alerts, streaming radio, promotions, and more on your mobile device by downloading the KUAM News mobile app, available at the App Store now.
Honey, do you want some milk?
Do you ever wonder how your favorite products make their way into your local stores? Most arrive on state-of-the-art Matson vessels that transport containers of food, household items, equipment, and supplies into the islands every week. Because we know that you depend on us, we work closely with our partners to ensure that our shipments arrive on time, all the time, so you can find your favorite products when you need them. We transport the region's most precious cargo that supports successful businesses and promotes a better quality of life for our families. Matson is proud to have been the hometown shipping carrier for Guam, the CNMI, and Micronesia for the past 25 years, and you can count on us to be here for generations to come.
Fast, fun, and easy. That's how your home Wi-Fi should be. So start with an internet plan that fits your budget. Introducing your home Wi-Fi starter pack, also known as WISP. Enjoy up to 25 megabits per second for as low as $35 a month. Plus, a free router with your wireless subscription. That's hours of movies, games, social media, and more endless fun. Get your Wi-Fi starter pack today only at Docomo Pacific. Better together. Additional conditions may apply.
What you need to know from the Northern Marianas. Follow KUAM CNMI on Instagram for the latest regional headlines.
Welcome back. A parish on Saipan seeking help after moisture buildup destroys a sacred space within their church, exposing issues with the building. Tomas Manglotnia reports.
We were having mass here at the main church, and we heard something crisp, like breaking. And it was very loud. The echo was coming here to the church. People on that side, the other side of the church, because the church is circular, heard it too. So you could see those heads turn.
A few moments after, Sam Santos at St. Jude Parish Church went to the source of the noise.
My eyes went from the chapel to the sacristy. And that's when I started to see the floor rising, the tiles rising. And I kind of freaked out because, I've never seen that happen in my life.
The noise became louder and parishioners rushed to move sacred items out. They thought it was an earthquake, but the cause was later found to be moisture buildup. The room is 21 years old and is also where priests and ministers prepare for Mass. The tiles in the sacristy are completely removed and now covered by a carpet, allowing worship to continue.
It's a big loss for us, and we want to make sure that when we fix it, it's not a temporary Band-Aid fix, but a fix that is, that will survive the test of time.
The event has uncovered other structural issues in the church, which is built on the same level as the old chapel. They're seeking financial help from the community as they wait for the pieces to be put back together again. Tomas Manglotnia for KUAM News, On Saipan.
Thanks, Tomas. Well, back here at home, the Guam Visitors Bureau has announced a membership meeting next week that will include a vote on new bylaws and directors. Many see it as the possible conclusion to a 10-month-long dispute between GVB President and CEO Carl Gutierrez and certain board members. Last March, Gutierrez accused them of conflicts of interest by voting and acting on policies that directly impacted the businesses they represent. He directed that the board bylaws be reviewed and recommendations made to ensure they were consistent with law. Here's what he had to say in a presentation held last month.
Now we have come up with proposed bylaws for the membership here to be able to look at it, and if they think it's good, then they in January will vote to accept the new bylaws, and then we can start to begin actually operating with the two sections, the bylaws and the enabling law, in congruency.
The board has declined to meet for months, waiting on the bylaws concerns to be resolved. Again, the membership meeting to vote on the bylaws and to elect new board members set for 11:30 in the morning, January 10th at the Hyatt Regency Ballroom. Well, Mayor's Council of Guam officers were sworn into office earlier this morning in the Mayor's Council Conference Room in Hagåtña. The oath of office taking place just before their regular meeting of the new term. Chief Justice Philip Carbolito swears in the elected officials.
Discharge my duties as an officer of the Mayor's Council of Guam. Congratulations.
PD Mayor Jesse Alex serves as president, Sanahaña Mayor Robert Hoffman as vice president, Tamuning Mayor Luis Rivera as secretary, Hagat Mayor Kevin Sasuico as treasurer, and Barrigada Vice Mayor Jesse Bautista as sergeant at arms. Mayor Alex gives his remarks.
I do look forward to more communication with each of you. I think that communication has actually has improved, and I hope that you will feel comfortable and at ease to ensure that I am aware of your needs so that we can address them as best as possible. And I know that my colleagues on the executive officers and the executive officers feel the same way. So thank you so much for your support, and there's so much more to do, and we look forward to working with you the next 2 years.
And the re-elected officers will serve another 2 years until January 25th. PBS Guam is questioned by auditors for non-compliance for nearly $500,000 worth of funds from major federal programs. According to the Office of Public Accountability's financial audit documents, PBS had $1.2 million in total federal expenditures in 2021 as a sub-grantee of the Governor of Guam's COVID-19 Education Stabilization Fund. Independent auditors tested $751,000 in transactions of the $1.2 million as required. Auditors found that $554,000 were questionable costs and were not proper utilization of the fund. The auditors finding that PBS does not have proper documentation of costs or written procedure as required by the uniform guidance. Additionally, the report notes PBS has plans to establish new procedures for all future grant awards. Well, now for a look at your world at home, here's a view captured of a gorgeous sunset at Gun Beach down in Tumon. The Guam National Weather Service predicting Thursday will be breezy, partly cloudy, with a 20% chance of isolated showers.
This burger looked at one slice of melted cheese and said, more cheese. It looked at pickles and said, also onions. It wanted to be more than hot. It wanted to be juicy. This is the Quarter Pounder with cheese. If you thought one napkin for the Quarter Pounder with cheese was enough, it's not enough.
Don't need a work break, keep the smile on your face. The moments you can't replay, and I'll be around. Whoa. You can count on me. You can count on me for life.
Wherever life takes you, we're always here for you.
Calvo's Insurance. Count on us for life.
KUAM Sports is brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together.
Half a day, everybody, and Happy New Year once again. Welcome to KUAM Sports. I am Jason Salas, and I am certainly the gentleman in the Zoom room today with the least amount of athletic ability, because these two amazing champions that have graced me with some of their time, Sage and Luck Cruz, are getting it done in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's probably what they've been known for the most in our community, but they are well-rounded athletes. So
what got me into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is my dad, his friend, called us and he said he wanted to take us to this tournament. So my dad wanted us to do jiu-jitsu and stuff.
Mm-hmm. What about it when you first watched it? Did you immediately say, Dad, I want to do that? Or did it look like a little bit intimidating, or was it scary? Or did you say, I know I can do that?
I was a little bit nervous about doing it.
Okay, so how about you, Luck? Because you're the younger of the two, and you started actually training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at age 4, right?
Yeah.
Man, you were a little guy when you started, but how does it feel now? And you've got 4 years under your belt, and you're a gray belt now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how does that feel?
Because it feels way better. Because when I first started, I didn't like to do it because it was hard and stuff.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a lot of questions about sports. Okay, who's the fastest?
Oh, me.
Okay, we have consensus. All right. Who can jump the highest?
Me.
Okay. Who's the strongest?
Me.
Wow, 3 for 3 so far. Okay. Who's the most quiet?
Me.
Wow, Sage all the way. Okay. Who's the tallest?
Me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm very tall.
Okay, so since we're talking about food, who can eat the most?
Luck.
Luck's got the appetite.
I'm not much of an eater.
Okay. I know you guys are little guys, but who would you say is the toughest?
What?
When it comes to competition and everything, nothing phases you. You know, you're locked in. You got your game face on 24/7. You can say yourself if it's a.
Who do you think? MMA? Who's better at MMA?
Me.
You think? Okay.
I think I'm more tougher.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
When it comes to competition and losing, I think you're more tougher with it.
Okay, so and last question. And again, you can say yourself, or you can say one. You can say your brother. When one of you is competing, who cheers the loudest? Who's screaming?
Yeah, Luxus.
All right, man. Well, you guys just make sure to when you say your prayers at night, thank the man upstairs, but also thank that wonderful man behind you, because that's where it all starts and everything. So, Dad, you've done a fantastic job.
I want to say thank you for having an opportunity for us to share our stories.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We just want to say thank you to all our coaches and professors. So thank you, Professor Cobb, Byron, and John at Otto's KUAM, Coach Zach at Mariana's
Martial Movement,
and Coach Tony and Coach Nano at Fedosian. We also want to thank Gonzo at Expensive Dreams, and Ron at Eli's Jumper, and Governor Carl Gutierrez, and
Craig Camacho, Leander Dasco at Guam Visitor Bureau.
KUAM Sports is brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together.
Guam's auto appearance specialist, Elegant Reflections, has been providing the automotive industry with professional detailing and car care products at its highest quality, from complete detailing, full interior detailing, exterior detailing, headlamp restoration, hand washing, seat and carpet shampoo, engine degreasing, undercarriage cleaning, paint sealant, fabric protection, paint oxidation removal, and so much more. Visit us at our new location. Call 646-5555 for an appointment. Elegant Reflections, Guam's auto appearance specialist, over 20 years of experience.
New year, new you, new adventures.
How about a new Jeep to go along with it? It is the Start Something New sales event happening now at Cars Plus. Experience a new level of freedom and adventure in the new Jeep Gladiator. Or how about the all-new legendary Jeep Grand Cherokee L? The most awarded SUV ever now features a fresh interior design and 3 rows of seating. Call us at 671-477-7807 or visit our website at carsplusguam.com to get pre-approved online today.
Finally tonight, your Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club shout-out submitted on KUAM.com.
On January 4th, we want to wish happy birthday wishes to Gavin Kitigwa, who celebrates birthday number 19 today, and Dad, Alyssa, Amista, Kaylee, Grandma and Papa, and the entire family are sending you their very, very best, Gavin. And Miles Jordan Bavakwa, happy birthday number 3 to Miles, with all the love in the world coming from all of your family, especially Nina Lacey.
And happy birthday to all of you celebrating out there. That's your primetime show. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Nick Delgado. Stay safe and good night.
KUAM News Hotspot is brought to you by
Pacific Points, Do More, Get More, and Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
Good day, everybody. Jason Salas here, and you are on Facebook or on YouTube Live, and we thank you for tuning in today. Happy New Year to you and your family once again. We got an action-packed show, a lot to talk to, so let's get this thing started.
The menu, brought to you by King's Restaurant, always open, always local, and Ruby Tuesday Guam, home of the Fresh Garden Bar.
We are working on a bunch of stories for you today. We are going to tell you that our friends from GFD will join me in studio talking about water safety. That's news that you need to know. Also, Jess Rosario from the Boca Box joins me from Hagåtña. He's going to go live downtown for the first installment of Boca Talks for 2023. And I'm also going to chat with the administrator and CEO of the Guam Memorial Hospital, of course, Lillian Perez-Posadas, for an update on telemedicine at Guam's only public hospital. But first, we want to get to some national headline as dissension in the ranks has made a quite dicey process of electing a new speaker in the Republican-controlled House. Here is the very latest from national politics.
A speaker has not been elected.
As the 118th Congress convenes, House Republicans have control, but not consensus.
No one in this body has worked harder for this Republican majority than Kevin McCarthy.
But Republican leader Kevin McCarthy of California fell short of the majority 218 votes to win the speakership in the first round of voting. Members of the Hardline Freedom Caucus are withholding support after their demands were rejected.
We said, we can get you to 218 with this. He stood up and he shook our hands and he said, I can't do it.
I will always fight to put the American people first, not a few individuals that want something for themselves.
For their part, Democrats united behind New York's Hakeem Jeffries as their next leader. He collected 212 votes. Many in the GOP were hoping to avoid any spectacle that divides the party and its leadership in the first days of this new Congress.
Do you solemnly swear?
Across the Capitol, Vice President Kamala Harris swore in the senators-elect. Kentucky Republican Mitch McConnell became the longest-serving party leader in Senate history.
We have a lot of work ahead of us, so I hope we can find some ways to come together and not succumb to gridlock.
Working to advance President Biden's agenda, Senate Democrats retain a slim majority in their chamber of this newly divided Congress.
All right, now we are going to go to local headlines now, and we, of course, have been reporting some very serious situations out on our island's waves as hazardous surf and sea conditions have been facing our island community for the last week, and of course they will persist through the foreseeable future. Recently, we've had incidents of drownings. Our community, of course, grieves for those that we have lost, and here to offer some water safety tips are two members of the Guam Fire Department. Of course, we have Captain Brandon Sanner. Hafade.
Hafade Guam.
All right, and Nick Garrido, of course, the spokesperson. We deal with Nick a lot of times now. Gentlemen, I know, of course, we respect and we have so much reverence for the job that GFD does. And a lot of people, civilians like me would say they always think of GFD as, okay, there's a grass fire, something's happening in the jungle. But search and rescue is something that you do, and you do very, very well too, and that also extends to out on the water.
Yeah, absolutely, Jay. So Guam Fire Department provides 3 search and rescue units for the community. We have a inland search and rescue unit up in Dedido. We also have 2 water-based units, one at the Hagåtña Marina in Naganya, and then one down in the Aga Marina. However, all 3 units are capable of doing every aspect of firefighting and search and rescue for the Guam Fire Department in Guam.
Yeah, and Nick, this is something that your agency also does in coordination with our friends in the Navy and also with the Guam Police Department.
So I just wanted to kind of touch bases on that too, right, with our partnership. So we partner with HSC-25, the Navy HSC-25, the United States Coast Guard, Guam Police Department, their Marine Patrol. And then we also deal with National Weather Service with their advisories, along with Guam Homeland Security and Office of Civil Defense.
And that kind of shines light on the fact that this is a very real problem, and the amount of which can be very, very daunting. It is obviously too much for just one agency.
Yeah, so that's why, you know, we're very fortunate and grateful for the partnerships that we have established, being especially here on island, surrounded by our waters. This is obviously concerning and alarming for when we have incidences like this.
Right.
So the good thing is that we've established a rapport amongst our military partners and our local partners that have also helped us become a better, we're stronger in numbers and better as a bigger team.
Well, I love how you bring up the numbers, because Joe, sir, in the back, if you would, please, we've got some stats that I kind of want to go over too. Really drive home the fact that that this is something that affects our island community. And
yes, so just to touch bases, so in 2021 we had 7 near drownings and 3 were confirmed drownings. In 2022 we had 6 near drownings and 10 drownings. That was a significant change from 21 to 22. Those numbers, obviously they're very unfortunate situations, but by promoting this type of public education and coming on the show like this with you, our goal is to reach the community and reach the public out there, so that way they're aware. I also, if you don't mind, Jay, if I can go ahead and just kind of speak on the social media perspective of things. So we ask the community to follow the Guam Fire Department's social media, Instagram and Facebook page, as well as, don't mind me as I read this because I don't want to miss anything, but also the NWS website, which is weather.gov/GUM, the National Weather Service Facebook as well, facebook.com/NWS Guam. Also our Guam Homeland Security and Office of Civil Defense website, Facebook and Instagram. You know, like we mentioned in the past, and it's something I want to make sure we touch bases, GFD in partnership with the National Weather Service, the Guam Homeland Security and Office of Civil Defense, Guam Police Department, United States Coast Guard, and HSC-25, we advise the community to remain vigilant while conducting water recreational activities. We ask to please adhere to the advisories that we set out, which I post daily. Once I get anything from NWS, I post it out. Jenna at Guam Homeland is very good with that too as well.
Oh, she's the best.
She's constantly putting out, we're tagging each other, you know, both agencies, and we're pushing out that information. And one thing we want to make sure we emphasize is, though the Guam Fire Department and our other partners, though we are ready to respond at a moment's notice and well trained and definitely well prepared, our rescuers are also faced with the same challenges that the waters present. So we're humans, we're human beings, and we also have though we're trained, Mother Nature, we are not basically superheroes.
And no offense to either of you gentlemen and everybody in the agency that goes through training, but I mean, you guys are really, really good. You're not that good.
We're trained, we're prepared, but when the waters are in the surface high, we're faced with the same challenges like any other boater. Or
So let's touch on that, Cap, because I know you know, especially for those of us who, you know, we grow up on Guam and we love the island way of life, you know, when you see like and you can see right there, when the waves get a little bit high, everybody's like, oh, it'd be fun to, you know, bring out the surfboard, the boogie board and everything like that. But people don't realize that there is, the counter to that is there's very dangerous rip current.
So on top of that, I think another thing to mention, I mean, that's absolutely right, but it is understanding that Guam's waters are not the exact same waters as anywhere else in the world. Consider that we have a reef line protecting us, so the waves that we generate here during big water seasons are often heavier, deeper, and pose significant risk because of the shallow waters that they crash on. So I'm not saying that waters elsewhere in the world are not dangerous at all, but some of these sand breaks that some of our visitors are used to are very different from what we have here. You know, you don't have dangerous rip currents in certain areas that they visit frequently, and coral reefs, bomb holes that can keep you under. And then what I wanted to add, I guess I wanted to caveat real quick before we move forward on the statistics. So yes, 2021, it seems like a low number, but also consider that we were in a pandemic at that time with no visitors. And now that
one is too many, certainly.
Exactly, one is too many. But now that we're expecting more visitors as we reopen our island to tourism, we can expect those numbers to go up. Now, how do we help prevent that? And I think that this is the media in which to do it, which is to go through public service announcements and warnings. And so I think we need to get our tourism industry involved in providing our visitors some tips. I mean, we're not discouraging water recreation activities.
Sure.
What we want to do is we want to do it responsibly.
And public education.
Yeah, public education for sure.
So real quick, Nick, for you know, because if people are out on the water already, right? I mean, it's one thing to say, like, you know, you're home on the computer planning out your day and like, oh, you know, it doesn't look so good. If you're out on the water, what can you kind of like gauge from the way, you know, from Mother Nature's responding to say, like, you know, things don't feel right, I should probably get out of here real quick?
You know, one of the common things, right, is if you don't see too many people in the water on a weekend,
good point,
then it's kind of telling you something, right? I met up with some military people over the you know, our military families over this past Christmas, and that was one thing they mentioned. You know, they were talking about the water and stuff, and I mentioned, I was like, they specifically said, they said, if we don't see the locals in there, we're not going. So that saying there was, you know, I was like, wow, so that means that they're getting some type of education, you know, on our waters and stuff like that, because it does mean something.
And that's good for us as ambassadors, like you said, for tourism and everything. We have to be stewards of our community to pass that on to visitors and military.
Too, you know, when you bring about what's our signs, like weather, definitely weather. If you were at Tumon Bay and you're right by the shore and you feel the current pulling you, it's gonna kind of tell you something too, you know, like, hey, I was just sitting over there in front of my tent, but now I'm over here quite a ways. So it kind of tells you that time within a matter of 5 minutes, or what you thought was 5 minutes was possibly even 2 or 3, was what actually carries you a significant distance.
So maybe on those days, you know, you just want to go, you can kick back on the beach.
Correct.
And we have some warnings. I mean, I could cover some of the warnings, like first and foremost, you know, like Nick mentioned earlier, is please take heed of the advisories that are out there. Currently, we have 3 advisories ongoing at the moment, which is our high surf advisory, our small surf advisory, and then our rip currents. And those 3 advisories are detrimental to any water recreation, but they're also hazardous and for any activity, whether you're boating, whether you're fishing, it does not matter. And we're not saying don't. A lot of our boaters, a lot of our tourist industry, or our providers, our service members there, they know what conditions are safe for their people. So we just kind of, I guess what we're trying to lead to is take heed of the advisories. If the advisories are out there, probably reconsider the timing. Understand that our big water season runs from the holidays throughout spring. So we can expect these conditions all the way throughout February, and then we will experience those situations later on in the year. I mean, if you're gonna be around the water, have personal protective equipment, emergency equipment, have a life vest available, you know, things like that if you're going to be in those activities.
Okay, and now real quick, because Santa Rita Pete's telling me I only got like 30 seconds, but for people that are, you know, they may not be out in the water, they may be like at home, what can we do if, you know, they say, like, if somebody sees someone that may be in distress, or they say, you know, I know my Nino went out fishing, he hasn't checked in, it's been like 2 hours and everything, where can we call, or where should we go?
911. 911 is the best number for anything. And then also what we want to know is we want to know the last location, we want to know the description of the clothing, the capabilities of that family member. But at the same time, you know, if you are going to get in the water, bring some type of contact device, a phone or a signaling device, be in bright clothing, you know, all those things. Bring mask, snorkel, because if you get into trouble, all of those things will help. And the number one is, if you see whitewash, stay away. If you see white cap, stay away. You know what I mean? If you see the surf, if the water is light in color around the reef, stay away. That's all the rip currents and stuff.
All right, gentlemen. Well, we appreciate the job that both of you and everybody in GFD does to keep us safe, and all the teams that you work with.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jay.
All right. Thank you, guys. Happy New Year.
Take care. Happy New Year.
All right. Stay tuned. There's much more coming up after this.
What's the move? What's the move?
Hey, you want to order some Taco Bell?
Two grilled chicken burritos, two bold flavors. Order on the app, only at Taco Bell.
Get the latest updates and breaking news across the region by following KUAM CNMI on Instagram. Regional correspondent Tomas Maglonia brings what you need to know from the Northern Marianas at the palm of your hand. Full stories, daily updates, and snapshots of the beauty across the Marianas. Follow KUAM CNMI now.
Join us in saluting those making strides and serving in our armed forces every Tuesday on the KUAM News Instagram account. These weekly posts round up profiles of Guamanians receiving accolades in the armed forces, those stationed on Guam making a difference in our community, and veterans being recognized for their service. Presented by Future Smiles Orthodontics. Build a brighter future with a brighter smile.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We hope you enjoyed that interview with the good folks at the Guam Fire Department, and we appreciate them for passing on that information to you. All right, some more information, stuff that you really need to know about. Sodium and your blood pressure. These are things that you have to know how to get a handle of, and who better to educate on this very topic than Jess Rosario. He is, of course, the proprietor of the Boca Box, and we go now live to a Gannett where Jess is standing by.
Hafaday and Happy New Year. I am happy to be here. My name is Jess Rosario. I am the nutrition professional and owner at the Boca Box, and we are on the hot spot with KUAM. I hope you had a very awesome, fun, and wonderful Christmas and New Year celebration. But it is now 2023, and it's time to get back on track with our health and taking our health a little bit more seriously. A lot of times when we talk about eating healthy and losing weight, we tend to focus a lot on the foods that we are able to see, that we cut up and prepare, that go into the meals that we make. But a lot of times we neglect the things that we don't see, which also may have a big impact on our health. So today I wanted to talk about salt. And salt is one of those things that is both good and bad. Now I want you to remember one thing. Everything is healthy, but too much of anything is bad. And that goes for more than just salt. It goes for a bunch of other things, right? But we want to make sure that within our diet, salt is important. And we need to be able to eat salt every single day because one, it controls muscle and nerve functions. It also regulates fluid balance within our body. But too much salt can also contribute to things like high blood pressure, heart disease, and also stroke. So if you are somebody that is affected by high blood pressure or heart disease, more than likely when you go to the doctor, they're going to tell you that you need to find ways to decrease your salt consumption. So how do we do that? Well, that's why we're here. You know, salt consumption is not an easy thing to kind of eliminate or reduce because sometimes we don't think that we have an issue with it. But I want you to think about something. When we buy things at the store, like meat, they already have salt. We take it home and marinate it for the barbecue, we put salt in it. Then when we sit down and we get ready to eat, we get our rice, we put soy sauce on our rice, and then we make finadeni, which is more soy sauce than salt, and we dip our meat in the soy sauce. So we're eating a bunch of salt. The average American eats about 4 grams daily. This is 4 grams. Here at the Boca Box, we cut that down to the recommended daily allowance of 2 grams, right? There's a big difference in the amount of salt that we use. It's important to us that we reduce that within our meals. So this jar also shows us if we have about 210 meals that we're making for the whole day, we portion out the salt for 2 grams per person. And this is what we kind of come up with, and this is all we use for the day. We sometimes don't even get through this because we like to use a lot of other herbs and spices that bring more flavor out to the foods. So if you're looking at ways to control your salt intake, look at reducing it because yes, whenever we cook, we want to use salt, but just we want to use it sparingly. Keep in mind that this is the amount of salt that you should be eating every single day. It doesn't look like a lot, but it goes a long way. We don't want to get into the habit where our first spice or the first thing that we use whenever we're cooking is turning to salt and throwing a whole bunch of that. I like watching cooking shows, and it boggles my mind how much salt chefs and cooks put into their meals. Whenever they're preparing it, they season the meat with salt, then they start marinating it, then they cook it, then they add more salt. I like to think that whenever we're cooking, we need to bring out the natural flavors of the food, especially the meats and the vegetables that we're cooking with. Salt is just maybe a little enhancer that brings out the flavor, but the flavor should come from more of the foods itself, right? I've always been a big advocate for not putting in a lot of salt in the food, just because, again, being realistic about the amount of salt that we eat, this is average, but we use way more than that in our day-to-day lives, right? So look at ways that we can reduce salt. Look at the packaging in back of whatever we're using, and there should be a nutrition fact label. That nutrition fact label will show you how much sodium is in there. Again, the recommended daily allowance is about 2,000 milligrams or 1,500 milligrams of salt. Again, that's 2 or 1.5 grams of salt per day. Now, if you're looking at that and paying attention to the amount of salt that you're using per meal, not to say that you're just putting it in and shaking it on your meals. You need to find a way to control how much salt you're putting on. So for us, it's very easy to get a scale to weigh out, okay, what is 2 grams, and we use that for the day. Or we have, like I said, we have 200 meals, we multiply 2 by 200, and we're getting that amount of salt for all of our meals, right? Take a look at the foods that you're eating. Take a look at how you're cooking your foods and what you're putting into it, because it makes a difference, right? If you are interested in any of our meal plans, because our meal plans not only are very high in nutrients, but we're also taking a look at how much salt, how much things we're getting into, how much things we put into the foods, and we're controlling that for you. If you're interested in any of our meal plans and trying to get healthier again and lose weight, come see us at the Boca Box and we'll take care of you. I'm Jess from the Boca Box. See you guys next week on the Hot Spot.
I hope you guys were taking notes, because yeah, salt, very, very important. I know we want to use it on all things, especially out here in the islands. We probably want to use it a little bit too much. So thanks to Jess for giving us the knowledge, and that's what it's all about. All right, when we come back, we are going to talk to Lillian Perez-Posadas about what's going on at GMH with telemedicine.
How deep do Pizza Hut's roots run in the islands? Through all the decades, we know what you love. Great taste at an even better price. Like our large 3-topping carry-out pizza for just $13.99. You choose your favorite toppings, meat, vegetables, or any combination that totals 3. Our $13.99 large 3-topping pizza. Order online and carry one out today. Only at Pizza Hut, the island's best.
KUAM Communication is your home for star-studded entertainment from America's top networks. From specials, concerts, award shows, and can't-miss red carpet moments. It's all on KUAM TV 8 and KUAM TV 11. Check KUAM.com and our social media pages for showtimes and schedules. Network specials on KUAM Communications are brought to you locally by King's Restaurants, Ruby Tuesday Guam, and Docomo Pacific.
Properties in the Tropics is your weekly roundup of the hottest properties on Guam. Every Thursday, get a virtual walkthrough of homes, apartments, townhomes, and land available for lease, rent, or sale, with a breakdown of the most important info, including costs, features, and of course, location details. Watch it on KUAM News Hotspot at 11 a.m. on streaming and TV 8, or catch the encore at 5 p.m. on TV 11. You can also check out each installment on Instagram too. Properties in the Tropics is presented by Remax Diamond Realty. Start off your middays with the menu on KUAM News Hotspot, your preview to the big news items. Broadcast on KUAM TV 8 weekday mornings at 11 with live stream on our social media platforms, plus an encore at 5 p.m. on KUAM TV 11.
The menu, brought to you by King's Restaurant, always open, always local, and Ruby Tuesday Guam, home of the fresh Garden Bar.
Happy New Year.
Join us this week on another episode of the hottest properties on island in Properties in the Tropics. I'm Madeline Campos.
I'm Key Song, Remax Diamond Realty.
All right, everybody, it is a new year and certainly new challenges face our tightly knit island community. But one agency that continues the mission and the fight for good health and taking care of our people is the Guam Memorial Hospital. And I have the esteemed pleasure of being joined by a dear friend of ours, Lillian Perez-Posada. She is the administrator and CEO of GMH. Auntie Lillian, buenas and Happy New Year to you and the team over there.
Buenas, Jason, and Happy New Year to you and the team also with KUAM and the people of Guam. Thank you for this opportunity.
Well, I got to say, you know, I mean, your experience in healthcare goes back far, but that $1 million smile and everything like that is certainly very welcome bedside manner to not only us in the media, but certainly to the team at GMH and to patients, I'm sure.
Well, we have to, you know, we want to make sure that our role is to help people feel better and get well.
Exactly. And I think part of that is what we're talking about today, because Lillian, there's always been such a natural marriage in the practice of medicine with any sort of technology. And telemedicine is something that, you know, with your own experience, you have always pushed for. And I remember back in 2021, there were some innovations made at GMH with bringing in different physicians by way of video. And you've actually hired 2 neonatologists recently that will provide services, consultation services via telemedicine, right?
Correct. Yeah, we started out, this is one of the blessings of COVID. We went into telemedicine. Telemedicine and telehealth have been in existence in our healthcare system, but, you know, COVID really highlighted it because of the distance that we had to keep and, you know, isolation. And so in 2020, when we were challenged with having critical care doctors, intensivists on the ground, and so we were very fortunate that a doctor in the mainland offered telehealth, telemedicine opportunity for us. And so we worked with Dr. Darren Summers and helped us through the COVID, through the telemedicine capability. And then we have branched off to then get neonatologists. We hired one in 2021 through telemedicine. And just in August, recently, we had another neonatologist join us. And so we have 24/7 coverage for the neonate population. And so that has worked out very well because then they collaborate and they work with the pediatricians who are boots on the ground here in the hospital. And so through the telemedicine, the consultation is available 24/7. They use an equipment called tele-rounder. And this is an equipment that is at the bedside with the pediatrician and the nurses. And it does have equipment that can listen to the neonate's lungs, take a look at the neonate's physical condition. And through that, with the physician on boots on the ground, they then confer and discuss what then is the diagnosis of the infant or the neonate and what the treatment plan going forward for that neonate. So it really has worked out very well.
Yeah, so even though the physician may not be physically present and, you know, examining the patient as is traditionally done, they can still get real-time data about, you know, diagnostics and the information that they need to make proper diagnoses.
Absolutely. And physical examination, listening to the heart sounds and the lungs and, you know, all of that. They can do some of that physical examination through this equipment called Rounder. And with the doctor, pediatrician at the bedside can you know, say that, yes, that is correct. That what you're hearing is what I also hear in terms of the heart sounds, the lung sounds, and, you know, that it really has worked out very well. And the parents are very, very happy with this capacity that we brought on board, working with the pediatrician who is on site.
I was just about to ask you that. So, like, what has the feedback been from you know, the patients that receive care in this format?
Yeah, because these are neonates, it's really the parents that then can speak on behalf of their infant, and so they're very pleased. Yes, they're very pleased and very happy.
And Auntie Lillian, would this possibly be an indication of, you know, further services that the hospital, you know, may be looking into or already is in the pipeline of implementing for things, you know, because you've also hired 2 OBGYNs and, you know, applying this kind of new medical services to local patients and everything like that. Do you see other types of medical